Now for this video, it's actually the sequel to my last video. I mean, you don't have to watch them together, but I did say in the last video I'd be uploading another Overwatch video, so... But this is going to be about the return of Dive, or how Dive is probably going to be coming back within the next patch. And, I guess let's just get into the video. So, near Overwatch's creation of the Overwatch League, there was a meta known as Dive. Dive was basically the combination of 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. The 2 tanks were usually a D.Va and a Winston, maybe sometimes switching out the Winston for a Reinhardt, and a lot later on maybe switching out the D.Va for a Wrecking Ball, which were, both of those variations were very rare, but most commonly you would see a D.Va and a Winston. Then on DPS you'd likely see speedier heroes such as Genji and Tracer were the most commonly picked at that point, as they had pretty balanced kits. And sorry, for the supports you'd usually get some fast-footed supports such as Lucio and Mercy, who are both top picks for that at that point. Now, you could switch up Dive, but basically, it just boiled down to those 6 heroes being the core members of the Dive meta. And the Dive meta was based on just rushing. It was based on high mobility characters who were just able to rush in and deal heavy damage at close range and just pummel the enemy team a ton of times until they get killed. And after a while, it got heavy nerfed, and there were many heroes that got added, such as Brigitte, who countered it. So, it kind of just died out at that point, and was replaced by Goats, which died out when they brought in Roll Q, which was replaced by what's now the double shield meta. But in the newest patch, Dive might be coming back. The first return of a meta in a while. Now, the reason Dive might be coming back is because they buffed every single hero that was part of the Dive meta. They brought heavy nerf to Brigitte's ability to counter dive, which was her shield bash on Tracer, which has been heavy reduced. You could just basically insta-kill her shield now. And they just buffed every single hero that was part of Dive, and they nerfed all the ones that weren't. So, I'm sorry, I'm a little sick today, but what I would like to present to you is why Dive is coming back. And the reason I think that they're bringing it back is because it was one of the more fair metas. Double Shield feels really, well, I guess I'll talk about Goats first. I'm just kind of a little off today. But in Goats, it felt really unfair. Like, whenever you would fight in Goats, it always felt kind of boring, because it was always the same thing. It was always Reinhardt charges in their Zarya bubble, then D.Va follows behind him, with the rest of the supports following the D.Va, and the Zarya maybe lagging behind, or with the supports heading in there. I'm sorry, I'm just really sick today. I don't know what's up with me. But, that was basically extremely boring and repetitive, and it got old real fast. Then we got Double Shield, which is what's here now. Double Shield isn't quite as boring to me as Goats was. Goats was kind of repetitive, whereas Double Shield, it's kind of, you can get mixes in there. It's more variation, as your DPS are between 4 options. Usually you want a Doomfist or a Bastion in your first slot, and a Mei or Reaper in your second slot. So it's a little more variation. And sometimes people throw in a Hog every once in a while. I mean, it's not that common. but you can throw in a Hog instead of the Sigma. Or maybe on the supports, you have the options of Baptiste. You definitely want Moira, but you have the options of Baptiste, Ana, and Lucio, which are 3 great supports. So I think that Double Shield was a lot better, but I think the king of flexible metas was Dive. Dive was extremely flexible, and team fights were rarely ever repetitive. I felt like when I would run Dive, that you would really never see the same kind of fights. They would always turn out different, and they would always be more engaging than, say, a GOATS team fight, which was extremely boring and repetitive. So I think that the reason they want to bring it back is because they want to see a more energetic and more, I guess, random meta, where it's more up to not being the best at doing a certain pattern, but being the best at securing those kills and getting it back in there. Another reason might be because of, well, the fact that Dive is an old meta, so it might bring back some old players who are really good at the Dive characters. And since they all got buffed, all the Dive characters, there's really it's not too much that it would completely wipe out any other comp ideas, like double shield, but it's not too terrible that it's unviable. It's at a point where it is runnable, and it's going to probably be the leading meta, but it's not going to be required to run. I think that there's also might be a Hog thrown in there, maybe somewhere, maybe the Reinhardt. Reinhardt's still good in the game. They didn't nerf him at all. They actually buffed him, I think, a little recently. But you're going to have a lot more fun in more metas, I think. I think that they'll find a new meta. I think that Dive will probably be a leading meta at the start of the patch, but as the patch goes on, they'll find characters that are more fit for the roles of Dive, and we'll be able to see these brand new metas cropping up all out of Dive. And I am really excited to see what happens, and I hope everyone else is too. Anyway, just remember to eat your carrots, consume your pie, and please subscribe. Oh yeah, this is a little end thing, but I want to make a quick update. The video I'm working on is currently on pause as I have a lot of schoolwork to get through. The big movie thing I'm making, but that will be resumed soon, and I'm not going to confirm this yet. It might be later, but I think the earliest it's going to come out at this point is probably May.